Yeah, but from what they said, I mean, it's kind of hard to like pin down what it would be. But if those games do well, if the IP does well, then yeah, sure. Could see something more done with it in the future. Like 10 years down the line. But here we go, we're getting to our first series, and spawning in the top right hand corner of the Old Republic, we have the red Zerg player, the red Zerg player himself, representing himself, currently teamless. It is GgMaChine. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the blue Protoss player, the blue Protoss representing Team Liquid. It is SKillous. Here we go. Here we go, and if you're in the chat, you know what time it is. It is Gamba time. Predictions are open. Place your bets on who you think will claim the series. Best of luck in the chat as we get into our ZVP. Whew. Let's go. Let us go. So getting into our ZVP, and welcome to the Old Republic. The Old Republic is going to be a much larger map of the map pool, much larger map, longer rush distance by ground, and a very exposed fourth base location. And as a result, we have seen a lot of Protoss players struggle to play out a longer macro game on this map. So very similar to what we saw in Tourmaline, very similar to what we saw in Ruby Rock, we expect to see some more aggression out of SKillous, and we'll see what he does decide to go for if he does try to play more defensive. Now, in regards to defensive play on Old Republic, we have seen Showtime specifically look actually very impressive, going for a more defensive, a more robo heavy composition, not rushing into Sky Toss. I kind of alluded to it earlier, but now to actually discuss it, for those who haven't been watching StarCraft as of late, the meta for a lot of, in almost every single matchup, has changed drastically over the past couple of months, from patch to patch, from map pool to map pool. One of the reasons is because of maps like this, because we've gotten rid of maps like Tokamak, for example. If you remember Tokamak, if you remember Maganatha, if you remember Persephone in the previous map pool, previously there were maps where it was easier to defend and turtle up on 4 bases. And because of that, it was very common in this matchup for Protoss players to go into a standard opener, in towards a 3rd base, into +1 and blink, into Storm, or into Colossus, into fast Sky Toss. It'd be very, very common to rush into early Sky Toss to be able to slow the game down and to get into the late game. Unfortunately, or I should say fortunately, in my opinion, that is more difficult to achieve. That is almost impossible to achieve in the current map pool. There are certain maps that do allow for that, like Celestial Enclave, but even then there are certain areas to exploit, specifically on Celestial Enclave or on Taito Citadel, for example, or even Winter Madness. Those are maybe some of the more defensive maps out there, but nowadays it's more difficult to try to be that hyper defensive and to rush into Sky Toss. That has forced more mid-game play, and as an example of that, the last series, really fast games like 2 base all-ins, 2 base all-ins, 3 base all-ins. We've been seeing a lot more aggression out of Zerg and Protoss in the recent patch because of the maps and because of changes in the patch itself, and we're expecting to see some of that here as well. Now, I should emphasize that specifically on the Old Republic, the 3-base setup here is pretty defensive. Like, you do have a ramp, a narrow ramp coming into the natural. You have the high ground advantage here at the 3rd base as well. You can situate your army. 3 bases, it is relatively easy to defend. It's the 4th base, whether it's the low ground 4th or the linear 4th base, which is very difficult to maintain as a Protoss player in PvZ. And we have seen a lot of hyper aggression out of Zerg players to punish that. Meanwhile, one of that does get picked up. So again, we'll see how SKillous will approach this. As I mentioned before, Showtime is the one player that's been looking very impressive to me when it comes to how they've adapted to the patch in this more kind of newer kind of defensive style of heavy robo play. Going into like double robo, double Colossus production, into Immortals, into much later Sky Toss, which we saw be quite successful here against Raynor, if you recall. It was Showtime versus Raynor during, I think it was RSL? I think it may have been RSL. They pick in. Actually, I think I might be thinking of one of the open cups, but regardless, it was Raynor versus Showtime. Oracles that dive in. Very nice damage, getting up to 6 drones. Oh my god, 6, 7, 8, 9 drones going down as we're still not done. Ooh, and before we can even think about the fourth base back at home, 11 drones are going to be falling. SKillous with a massive lead early on. The Spore was too late. GgMaChine was distracted. Lings that were hitting the third base, they were out of position, and the Adepts are still alive. They're still denying mining, and they can still find more damage. As 11 drones go down, they shade into the main base, getting another drone. That's going to be 12. Almost 13. Yeah, almost 13 drones. That is critical damage. Ay, ay, ay. Behind this, we have Blink on the way, Forger +1, Robo as well. We have a standard mid-game setting up here for SKillous. But he has already dealt so much critical damage early on that he can just chill. He can just chill, settle back, settle down, get into his 3 bases. The pressure is now suddenly on GgMaChine. Pressure is on. There's no shield battery. True. There's no battery, gets 1 probe. 1 probe gets picked off. We have +1 melee on the way. A layer is on the way. It's going to be Ling Hydra out of GgMaChine, but he's getting to Ling Hydra with a subpar economy. Gets a Stalker. This is nice. He's gotten 1 Stalker. He's gotten 1 probe. This is nice, but we still need more damage. SKillous, he does once again move out. I mean, he's already done so much with these oracles. He's already achieved so much. Ay, ay, ay. As he makes his way into the main. That's 3, 4 drone kills. 4 drones go down. Behind this, we have Ling Hydra. Now, again, as we mentioned before, it's Ling Hydra out of GgMaChine, but he's stumbling his way into Ling Hydra. SKillous going for the 1-2 punch. Blink is not done. Nice pin control. Does lose any Stalkers. Blinks forward, picking up more Lings. +1 is finishing up. The Prism is now done. How many gateways? We have, 8. 3 base all in, 8 gate as SKillous. No gases at the 3rd base. It is going to be 1 massive all in. And this makes sense considering the lead that SKillous has. So again, he dealt critical damage early, and now he's here for the kill. He's here for the kill. He's here to end the game. Again, just pure Blink Stalker. And this probe is here to throw down the pylon. Throw down the gateway. Actually turns around. I mean, hey, we have the Prism. True. Prism is here anyway. 4th base does fall. And skills, you can just keep going. You just keep on going, keep on pushing. You see GgMaChine trying to muster up a defense, but he just took too much damage. Lings are coming from behind. Stasis goes off. Nice stasis trap. Oracles yet to activate. Hydras are exposed. Diving on the Hydras, and SKillous sees on it. GG gets called. SKillous, he will claim the game and take a lead in the series. GG. Whew. GG, well played. Again, a very strong start for SKillous. Winding it back, he killed 13 drones. Happy. 13 workers went down. That was crazy damage early on with the Oracle harass, with the Adept harass, and that was game-ending damage. Straight up. That just won him the game. Because SKillous had such a massive lead economically, what did he do? Turn that into a 3-base all-in. No gases at the 3rd. No gas at the 3rd base. No further tech. No Storm. No Colossus. No Immortal production. None of that. None of that was necessary. Just going into an 8-gate 3-base all-in with Mass Blink Stalker. So 8-gate Blink out of SKillous, and the reason why that worked is because he knew he was ahead. He knew he had dealt critical damage. Most likely, if SKillous hadn't dealt that much damage, he would probably get a 4th, like work towards a 4th base, tech up instead, apply some pressure, and tech further into a longer game. But because he knew that GgMaChine was crippled, because he knew that he was down, then he could just go for the finishing blow. GG. GG, well played. Now we're getting into game number 2, and oh boy, our Zerg player here in the top right hand corner needs to tighten up that early game defense, as in the top right we have our red Zerg. It is GgMaChine. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner we have his opponents. We have the blue Protoss player, the blue Protoss himself representing Team Liquid. It is SKillous. Here we go. Meanwhile, a big shout out to Kashim in the chat. Kashim. Thank you so much for subscribing for 27 months. Oh my god. Thank you so much. Over 2 years of support. Kashim. Thank you. Thank you. Como siempre. Como siempre. Dziękuję. Do appreciate the support as we're getting into game 2. And again, SKillous has a lead in the series, and now we enter a much more defensive favored map. But welcome to White Rabbit. As opposed to the previous maps, here we have a much more secure 3rd and 4th base. Now the downside about this kind of map layout is the bases are more spread out. True, like the area that you have to traverse, the distance here between your 3rd and 4th base is much larger, much longer, so rotating and reacting, especially delayed reactions, can be very difficult to achieve. But outside of that, we do have choke points, much more defensive locations here. In general, it is easier to take a 4th base on this map. So SKillous want to build up into a longer game, then White Rabbit would be the map to do it on. The pressure instead is on GgMaChine. So the pressure is on. Now what we could see out of a Zerg player, and what I was going to propose coming into the Old Republic, is that we could even see Muta play. Like Muta play is going to be an option. It's going to be a viable option here for GgMaChine to get into Mutas and to use that to try to deal some damage, to keep the Protoss at home and to get some breathing room. But we'll see. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Here we go. Here we go. Players do open up. Based on the pylon location, looks like we're not hiding any tech early on. Should be a Stargate here out of SKillous. Does open up Stargate. GgMaChine pulls out a gas. Building up into a 3rd. Everything's looking normal so far. So far, so good. And again, if SKillous were to play standard, this would be the best map to do it on. Or at least one of, right? We spoke about it earlier, but there are some more defensive maps like Celestial Enclave or like Winter Madness or White Rabbit, which do favor the more standard style. See, Adept does threaten a dive. Once again makes his way towards the natural. This time we do see GgMaChine trying to keep up. Oh, we'll lose one. One drone goes down. But so far still a cleaner defense. The Oracle's on the way. Again, remember last game was 13 drone kills. So we're hoping that GgMaChine has a bit of a cleaner defense this time. Does spot the Oracle. Spores are on the way. Spore on each base. It's going to be 2 queens in the main, 2 queens at the natural. Lings, they hit the 3rd. They force back the Adepts. So far, so good. Oh. As Oracle gets 2 drones. 2 drone kills, the Spores are now done. And again, this is a much cleaner early game out of GgMaChine. I say that. Add position at the 3rd. Stasis trap here into the natural. So far, he's holding his own. Again, not bad. So GgMaChine maintains his economy. We have +1 at melee on the way, going in towards Ling Hydra. Meanwhile, standard follow-up, a Twilight Council on a Forge, +1 on Blink. Now, the chances of this turning into an 8-gate 3-base all-in is much lower for SKillous, as he has not dealt critical damage early on. Adepts a shade in towards the 3rd. They come into the shade. Ooh, does commit in. Link's going to be going down. Nice wiggle here by SKillous. Catching out, what, 6 Lings already. And he wants those drones. He wants them. Yeah, shades in between the bases. The Oracles, they pop off. They punish the Lings. Drones are now going down. Oof. Losing 2, 3, up to 4 more drone kills. The drones have to fight. Okay, 4 drones. Again, it could have been worse. It was the Oracle's out of energy. And that was 7 drone kills, which is pretty good damage here by SKillous, but again, not game ending. Not game ending. SKillous, he wants that 3rd. I believe he shouldn't have the energy. Oh my god, never mind. Never mind, forcing the cancellation, not bad. Nice cancel out of SKillous. Behind this, taking up into his robo, a couple of gateways, again just getting him to 6. So 6 gate setup, gases are being taken. Remember, the sign that was an all-in last game, there were no gases. There were no gases at the 3rd base and there were extra gateways. Here, SKillous is taking up. With the extra gases, we can afford either Storm or Colossus, or we'll see what direction SKillous goes in. Stalkers, they move out. SKillous, he wants that 4th. I mean, he already forced a cancel. Now there's no creep. That's a free 4th base. GgMaChine completely out of position. The 4th base, yeah, it's forfeit. There's no saving it. Ah, did I speak too soon? 3 more volleys. That's yeah, there is no saving the 4th base, so another massive cancellation, and this is huge. Losing the 4th base twice now, this doesn't just impact the economy, it impacts the production. Like GgMaChine, he is falling behind. He desperately needs a 4th base. Desperately. And we spoke about the SKillous taking those gases. What does that mean? That means back at home, charge. Oh. Charge is on the way. We have a 2nd robo. We have a bay. It's going to be double Colossus production. Not Storm, going to Colossus. So again, SKillous takes the lead. He gets ahead. And from here, he's going to maintain that lead and get further ahead. Building up into the mid game. And meanwhile, GgMaChine, he's trying to build up into Ling Hydra. But again, he's stumbling his way there. Oh, not again. Plenty of HP this time. Plenty of health on the 4th. What about the 5th? Lings are in position. Hydras as well. SKillous, oh, does get away. Barely pulls out. SKillous pulls out. SKillous is hoping for some drones. Alas, no saturation. Revelation. A drones are in production, getting a free queen. Queen goes down. And the Colossus are amassing. And again, if this was a previous patch, there would already be a 4th base. But you can see that SKillous, he's staying on 3 bases, getting up to quadruple Colossus, and going for a +2 timing. Again, this is a bit of an older style. We brought this up previously, but Showtime and Creator used to go for this style back in the Altitude era. This was like a couple of years ago. But it is a very strong +2 timing here with quad Colossus. And then you expand behind it. And there's a 4th. So 4th base is now on the way. Again, the 4th base after the 4 Colossus. So much later 4th, but hey, GgMaChine, his 4th base was late as well, so... Better position for the Protoss. Prism goes down. That's a wall of spores. Jesus. Prism goes down. Azalts as well. Both armies are maxing out. I would say that SKillous will have the better army. Building up his immortals. He's walling up. Stasis traps. Shield batteries. He did opt to go for the center expansion, which is a closer rotation to his 3rd base. So we have closer together bases. Easier to rotate. Easier to defend. And GgMaChine is going for it. He's maxed out. He's going for the push. Trying to come in from behind. Trying to set up the surround. Stasis goes off. Drags back the army. Once again, Ling's trying to collapse in, but there are 4 Colossus. Yeah, Baneling's not really much to connect with. Colossus are exposed though. Okay. Yeah, Colossus, they take a lot of damage. They have to pull away. Stalkers, they blink forward. 1 Colossus is going to fall. Gets 1. Just 1 though. 1 Colossus goes down. Does get 14 probes. Okay. Some decent economic damage. The main army stands strong. And that was a massive loss here for GgMaChine. Losing a lot of Ling Bane Hydra here. That was 30. Oh my god. That was 32 Hydras. I thought it was mainly Ling Bane, I'll be honest. 32 Hydras going down. That's crazy. For one Colossus and for a mineral line. I mean, at least thankfully got some probes, but that was an expensive trade for GgMaChine. Ay, ay, ay. He's down to 16 Hydras. And he's gonna rebuild, remax, and do that again. Oh boy. Never mind, SKillous is gonna be the first to move out. Now defensively, it's purely Ling Hydra. Where are the Banelings? And already. Banelings have yet to morph in. So that is a bit of a concern. Pure Ling Hydra is gonna struggle against a Colossus heavy composition. Ling's a counterattack. SKillous pushing forward. GgMaChine has to back up. He has to morph in some Banelings. He's going for the counterattack. Okay, he's going for the run by. Yeah, this base will go down. There we go. Now we have 20 Banelings morphing in, but these Banelings are late. Without them, he cannot engage. Even with them, I don't think he can engage. Okay, Hydra setting up for the surround. Let's go. No sentries, no force fields. True. Banelings collapsing on the Stalkers. Hydras are coming from behind. Colossus, they just mow everything down. Oh my god, they just mow everything down. The Hydras, they all do melt, they all burn. You have another concave of Hydras, but again, there are still 3 Colossus behind this, and they just go to town. The lasers, they just go to town on the Hydras. SKillous, he has done it. He's broken through. GG gets called, and SKillous will take the series 2-0, advancing on to the semi-finals. GG. Whew. GG, well played. SKillous again with almost full control of this game. This time he didn't do critical economic damage, but he denied the 4th base so often that he took an economic lead. That is why, even though we saw the max out from GgMaChine, SKillous was already maxed out as well. Like, GgMaChine was behind when it came to his economy, when it came to his production, because he lost his 4th base twice. Twice he lost his 4th base, he lost workers, but mainly his production, his economy was slowed down quite heavily, and SKillous was able to comfortably build up into quad Colossus, into quadruple Colossus production, then into a later 4th base ready for the defense, and it was a very impressive defense there by SKillous when he killed 32 Hydras. That was not worth it for the Zerg. That was not worth it for the Zerg player, losing 32 Hydras in that first assault, not breaking the 4th base, not breaking the army, and from that moment GgMaChine, he had lost any kind of semblance of an army to try to contest against SKillous, and he was vulnerable to the counterattack. GG. GG well played. The reason why that counterattack hit so hard is because SKillous preserved the Colossus, right? He preserved 3 of those Colossus, only 1 was killed, so he could maintain that Colossus count and just push out for that counterattack, whereas GgMaChine was not ready for that, of course. He was stuck with Ling Hydra, Banelings weren't ready, there was no lurker tech, for example, there was no gas income for lurkers, like there was no economy for that. GG. So GG well played. Congratulations to SKillous as he does claim the series, does advance on to the semi-finals, and let's catch up on the rest of the bracket. Let's go.